Hi, everybody. I'd like to take the time to make a video that I had wished I had made a couple of years ago. Um, there's a lot of things I really like about the PlayStation 3, and then there's some built-in limitations that most people know about it. And then there's a lot of other people that are Xbox fans. I'm personally, always been sticking by PlayStation. In particular, not for any reason other than the fact that I've learned and played and just persevered with it. Uh, but I want to mention the fact that I have a PS4 that I like very much, and it has features an expandable HDD, which is basically goes right through the USB and has you can buy it like 2 terabyte storage or more for your games to free up space on your internal HDD. I know, how cool is that, right? Um, yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute because it's worth mentioning, but that has to do with the PS4. Oops. And Anyway, the PS3, I'd like to mention that I was always happy with the 250 gigabytes that came with my particular PS3. The possibility, I think, for anybody that wants the convenience or the necessity of having more storage space, they might want to, the idea of getting an upgrade hard drive for the PS3, the 500 gigabyte or the 1 terabyte, or you'd run into advice pretty quick that says, try not to go over 1 terabyte. It's too glitchy and all that. All based on some YouTube videos as well. Uh, I personally didn't need all that space, so I steered away from actually buying the 1 terabyte upgrade. But what I learned in the process was a lot of things. I would never steer anybody away from doing it. Um, because there's no real cautions to give anybody except for the simple fact that when you put a new hard drive in, um, whether it be an upgrade from 250 to 500 or from 500 to 1 terabyte, or usually the only caution is to have um, a thumb drive handy, something that's formatted to your Windows computer, so you can download the latest version of firmware for your PlayStation 3. And it's kind of a formality, really. Usually, anytime you put a new hard drive in, or if you're a seller or something on eBay and you decide to do a full wipe instead of a quick one, you're going to lose that firmware if you do a full wipe. So a lot of people, I've heard of people coming back to their sellers and saying, "Hey, it doesn't start up. It just asks for firmware. I don't know what to do." And this is something you would not charge into, but upgrading uh, the amount of storage space kind of came into focus on the PS3 because it didn't have a removable HDD USB removable HDD like the PS4 is capable of. And I have one for my PS4 that, well, I'm just itching to talk about because that was the one thing I realized was not common with the PS3. Something that plugs right into your USB on your PS4 and is a removable HDD. All your games get offloaded to it. They play quickly. There's no pause. So this was not common, and I don't know so much about Xbox at all, really. I just know that the PS3 had this, this going on for it, and it was very inconvenient because with that same thumb drive, a lot of people could, you'd find there was limitations with the PS3's, USB ports. You could only copy your photos, your trophies, things like that you wanted to save. And of course, you could upload photos for things like screensavers and the whole bit. And there's more than that too. There's any movies or anything that but you truly could not get the games to play out of your USB and into another source, like any hard drive, any computer technology, basically uh, you know any compatible formatted drive. Basically, I don't know, it just couldn't do it. It was impossible. So if you can't offload your games and save data to your from your hard drive there, that was the idea back then. And it turns out people were always downloading games and downloading the newest games from the PSN store and all that. And it was kind of a bummer that you couldn't use your USB to actually let that copyrighted game stuff out through your USB to begin with. And it turns out because of that, there was nothing that could copy it at all. So there was very limited stuff you could do with a thumb drive. And that was the deal with PS3, a limitation for sure. So the idea came along for those that really wanted or needed it. Certainly there was an open market for, upgrade hard drives. And that was the case for it, really. Obviously, to go from 250 to 500 gigs or the 1 terabyte, or even if you knew what you were doing, to go to 2 terabytes. Just depended on how much data, data storage you needed. And PS3 was one of those good old systems that basically had that need to, to store. I don't know. You could pay good amounts of money in the PSN store to download digital games, and certainly it's going to be stored on your HDD, with no possibility of storing it on an external drive. It's that simple. So, considering the possibility that there's many videos all over YouTube about how to upgrade your storage, I would just say never be afraid to do that if you need to, if you see a need. It's just very possible to do that. Just take some free advice, when it comes to, being prepared to download to a thumb drive on a Windows computer, the latest version of firmware, because it'll probably be very necessary the minute you start up after your new hard drive is installed. And this is that can avoid a lot of frustrations. Other than that, I think it's up to an individual entirely how much space they need. I may have never needed more than 250 gigabytes, but for gamers that are always downloading some of the newest games and other content too, there's tons of things that would fill up that 250 gigabytes very quickly. So 500 is very justifiable. There's an open market out there on Amazon. You don't have to pay more than $50 or $60 for something that looks very much like a computer laptop drive. But if you look into it first and you make sure you get one that's compatible with the PS3 and the whole bit, you're basically you can keep the PS3 going for what it is. But it never did have that that external HDD, USB external HDD. I'll talk about that in a minute because it has to do with my PS4 that applies to. So, even though I'm happy with the the limitation of 250, that doesn't mean that anyone else has a reason to be. But I would definitely encourage anybody to go for a larger drive if they thought so. Just remember to, to have the firmware handy to start your machine up, because it's a new drive. It doesn't know anything. All right. Well, I'm going to make a part 2 and talk about my PS4, about some of the features it has, things I like about it, and I'll see you all in my next video. Okay. All right. Bye bye.